world, I'm Miyah and I would like to welcome you to the latest episode of my blog series. So far, I have been able to share my own experiences on what it's like for me to live with Asperger's syndrome. A second thing that I will do is give my 2 cents on what's going on with autism in the media. A third area entails giving tips and advice for those of you that are on the autism spectrum. I also reach out to friends, family members, peers, mentors, educators, employers, and anybody in the autism media or autism community, And finally, I cover topics on things that I'm passionate about on occasion. But before I dive into this morning's topic, I have a few things to mention. Number one, please be sure to click up here in the upper right-hand corner. This is a video based on the series Arthur, and the episode was called When George Met Carl, and this is about a boy with Asperger's syndrome, and I think the creators of Arthur did a good job illustrating what Asperger's syndrome is like, and they did such a good job that it got a lot of great reviews from other Aspies like myself. I included fell in love with it. But what I also would like you guys to do is check out my written blogs on WordPress.com. These are scholarly and practical application, and I'm going to be firing these blogs up a lot more, being that other people are starting to notice them, like Jacqueline, who used my information for her presentations. And I also am going to be at a couple of different autism conferences, and I'm going to be in Atlanta and Chattanooga, and you can find that information below along with my social media pages. But anyway, what I would like to do now is spend the next couple of minutes giving my 2 cents on what's going on with autism in the media. So here's what I have to say about that. So for those of you that know about Sesame Street, they created a new character named Julia, and she is the first Muppet who is on the autism spectrum. And they said they spent several years trying to pull her together by doing lots of resources and doing lots of research and talking to a lot of parents and a lot of individuals on the spectrum to get a better idea of what Julia should be like. And I myself think that's wonderful because it's a good way to educate children at a younger age, because autism is becoming more and more common and more people are learning about it. So it's really good to be intervening with young children that are 4 years old, because when I was 4 years old, Jim Henson did a brilliant job of introducing a live action character named Miyah, who is hearing impaired, or was hearing impaired, and that's something that Sesame Street needs to do. Now, regarding to the character Julia herself and my views on her, Julia is a character who's 4 years old, and she's autistic, and you look at her and she says a couple of sentences, and she can understand, but you notice that she says one-word sentences, but you get that she understands it, and you get that she's self-observant. They also made her out to be somebody who's not really good at talking. They do a better job of singing. And I have met a couple of people with autism that have that gift. I mean, I don't look at it as a deficit, I look at it as a gift, because someone like Julia would need musical therapy to learn how to talk. Now, even though she's a puppet and she's never going to grow up as a character, it would be nice if they showed Julia having some sort of intervention to better learn how to communicate and better learn how to expand her interest into other things. I also like that they're opening up the community to Julia, and they're willing to accept her no matter what. But, you know, that's always been the theme with Sesame Street. Another thing that I noticed is that Julia is a character that doesn't have problems with touch. She automatically likes to hug somebody. And I wanted to mention, there are some people that that function, that have the same kind of autism that Julia has, with the one-word sentences, but they're not sensitive to touch. They're more sensitive to things like sound. Because if you notice, Julia likes to cover her ears because the sound is just too overwhelming for her. That's what you call a sensory processing disorder. And another area you notice is that she flaps her hands. Now, I flap my hands. I do that when I get overwhelmed. I get too overly excited. And I recently learned when I went to a Future Horizons conference in 2014 that psychologist Beth Aune, which her last name is spelled A-U-N-E, explained very carefully how people with autism, or why they act the way they do. And she explained why we flap our hands, and it actually sends a message to the brain, and that actually, it's supposed to be a calming method, and that wakes up the neurons. I don't really remember. I mean, I flap my hands all the time, and I notice when I do it, there's this tingly feeling that travels up my arm. So anyway, I'm out of time. If you like what I am talking about, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, and I would love for you to subscribe. And also be sure to comment below, and also share this with your autism groups, and be sure to share this with your classes and anything that is autism related, and also be sure to share this with the community. Until next time, I'm Miyah Sundermeyer, and I'm signing off.